Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a first impressions video. Now, this first impressions is not of this knife. I'm just gonna got this one here for an introduction. This is of course my Spyderco Manix 2 XL, a knife I really like. And if you watched my top 10 EDC folders video a little while ago, about a month ago maybe, you saw this one did fairly well in that discussion, and I really think the Manix is nearly a perfect everyday carry knife, as well as a few other Spydercos. Now, I don't want to talk about this Manix too much, but I am going to tell you this. Coming up, okay, I'm going to do a full video discussion / comparison of the Spyderco Manix. There are a bunch of different versions out there. There's the lightweight, there's this one, there's the one I want to talk about today, which is the Lockback. There's the standard Manix, there's the Saber Ground Manix. So there are a bunch of different ones out there, and I want to talk about some of the differences, what I like, what I dislike, and hopefully give you guys some direction. Because if you say, hey, I want to buy a Spyderco Manix, I'd be like, hey, great choice, but which one? And so I want to have that discussion. Now that's not this video. This is going to be sort of a first impressions / introduction to the Lockback Spyderco Manix. First thing I want to point out is some of the differences between this and the standard version. Now I'm going to use my XL, and you're just going to have to pretend that it's a standard version. Okay, the blade grind is the same, the overall footprint is the same. However, the blade steel is going to be of thicker stock. The overall thickness on this is going to be larger as well. The materials are the same, only implemented differently. As you can see here, there's no stainless steel inside of the handle on this guy. All right, so all of those I think are significant differences that you're going to want to consider if you're looking at one of these guys. I will say something that's interesting is 145 thousandths on this blade steel and like 120 something on this. But this blade stock is almost the same as the Para 2. So if I hold these two up side by side, you can see those are very similar. Now, the Manix maybe has a different style of distal taper to it that leaves a little more material at the tip, but very similar in that overall sort of blade grind and the way the whole thing is kind of pulled off there. All right, so sorry about that little bit of a distraction there while we're trying to get into this knife. So I just wanted to point out, thicker stock, it's still S30V. Let's see, I'll show you here. Spyderco CPM S30V, flip this bad boy over here and you can see Golden, Colorado, USA Earth. You can see Eric Glesser's maker's mark there. And then of course you can see that this is a Lockback rather than the ball bearing lock that you're used to seeing. And let me say this, I've been super impressed with the smoothness of this Lockback. It is really well done. So Spyderco deserves a little bit of credit on that. It is phosphor bronze washers that, there we go. I could see them no problem, so we should be able to see them. There we go. So you can see that right in there. And of course, Lockback design. The texturing on the G10 is going to be quite different. It's very grippy still, but notice how much finer it is than the patterning on the normal Manix. Okay. Also notice that this is quite a bit thicker. So look at how much edge there is sticking out past. So I've got them flush on the other side, and you can see there's more than a 1/16 of an inch there difference in the thickness on that. I'm gonna actually, let me grab a measurement for you on that. So 0.52, so 520 thou. Let's see, how does the Para 2 compare? The Para 2 is quite a bit thinner at 459 thousandths. All right. So that gives you a little bit of, what's going on with this knife. Let me grab a couple of measurements and then I'll give you sort of my overall impressions. I would love to hear this from you guys. Do you guys think this is a welcome addition to the Manix family? Are you wondering why Spyderco would do this? Does it make any kind of sense to you? Or are you thinking this is like the greatest thing that Spyderco has ever done and you were just wishing that there would be a Manix in this variation, you know, all along? I'd love to hear kind of your take on the introduction of this additional Spyderco Manix 2. So leaving us 3 Spyderco Manix 2s in current production. The lightweight, the standard version with the, you know, stainless steel liners and the scales, and then now this guy. And that is, you know, that's just, and then I guess the XL as well. So that's 4 different Manixes in current production. And that doesn't consider, you know, the sprint run that they just did in 154 cm and S90V, I think, in carbon fiber. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on the steels there. I think I'm wrong about that. But there's also the S90V Manix and Manix 2. There's Crewwear. There's a bunch of sprint runs out there. So lots and lots of variations. And even in the lightweight, there's S110V. There's BD1, also, oh yeah, the Blurple Manix. So tons and tons of variation. And I'm gonna do, as I said a minute ago, a full video kind of just discussing all of those different options. And I would really like to hear your thoughts on the various ones. Which one would you buy if you were gonna buy one? Do you think this is a waste of time? Do you think it's the greatest thing Spyderco's ever done, as I was saying? Let's grab a weight on this because I gotta say, one of the things that's pretty cool about this knife is how they were able to get it in at a pretty light weight. There we go. So 4.39, basically 4.4 ounces. Just for reference, we'll throw a pair of 2 in here so you can be reminded. It is a little lighter, by the way, 3.9 ounces. Very impressive. But 4.4 ounces is certainly pretty nice for a knife that's as robust as this one is. Okay. Bring this guy back in. Let's grab an overall length measurement. Of course, those of you who are familiar with the Manix, you know, you're not going to find much new in these numbers, but of course it's 8 inches overall, 3 3/8 inch blade, and the handle length on here is going to be 4 5/8 basically. Now, we have already talked before about the Manix being a bit big in pocket because of this dimension being fairly large. Okay, that's this dimension right here. And this one is going to be even more so because it's a little bit thicker as well. Now I will say the trade-off is you get a lighter knife than the standard Manix that's also extremely confidence inspiring. It's very durable in hand, but also very comfortable. Now, the ergos on the Manixes are all very, very good. There's none of them that I would call uncomfortable in the least. And certainly, but I will say this one is a little bit nicer. It really is great in hand because of that extra width. It becomes very, very easy to deal with. So, what is my initial reaction to this knife? Well, I do think it's a pretty cool offering. I like the fact that I can get something that's very durable, very comfortable in hand, very useful, but is a little lighter than the standard Manix. Now, you know, I've said many, many times that the standard Manix at 5 point something ounces is not too heavy as far as I'm concerned. And if you always thought it was, then there was the lightweight, but you'd be sacrificing some strength and durability. Here you're getting a lighter knife, but you're not having to sacrifice that durability. And in fact, you're adding a couple of extra things, which is, you know, that very, very comfortable handle and the thicker blade stock, making this knife presumably a little tougher. Although, let me say, it's still extremely thin out here at the tip, which could cause problems if you were to ever drop this, you know, if you're walking on a, you know, if you're in a building with concrete floors or something like that, you could find that tip gets damaged fairly easily. Anyway, my overall impressions on this is, yeah, it's a really, really well done knife. I have no issues with it in terms of, you know, nothing stands out as it being a fail. However, there are some things that spring to mind, and I'll discuss these further in the full review. First, do we need this in addition to the other Manixes that were already out there? And two, is this going to be able to compete with the cold steels that are offering similar construction with a arguably stronger lock, and steel that's just as good, only they're coming in, you know, a good $40 cheaper. Okay, so that's going to be all. Those are all things that I'll discuss further, but I'd love to hear from you guys on any of those things at this point as well. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can see all of the Manix discussions that are coming up. Also, I've got a few reviews that I'm going to finally start getting to. I feel like I've done a bunch of first impressions lately, and you know what that means? That means there's reviews coming up. So I will start getting to some of those reviews in the not too distant future. Again, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will talk to you soon.